What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another episode of Louder Than Words. I'm your host, Caleb Curl.
And I'm your co-host, Tony Gaskins.
So today, Tony and I want to have a conversation about why do men fall for the wrong women? Tony, what's your take on this?
You know what? This is a big problem, and I feel like this is really this is what birthed the red pill community. That's my thought, because when I listen to guys and what they call the red pill community, they seem angry
Yeah.
and they seem upset. So I was enlightened to this of men choosing the wrong woman, because I'll be teaching and doing my thing, and then guys will be like, yeah, but you're not thinking about all these women who cheat and all these women who lie and all these women who are gold diggers. And I had to really process that and say, man, you know what? I've never really been hurt by a woman when it wasn't retaliation. And so that's how I look at it. Like, this is, guys have chose wrong because they choosing from the wrong place, or just a lack of knowledge or instruction from a father, and then they get burned, and then from there they become scorned.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think it has to do a little bit too with men not knowing themselves. And when you don't know yourself, you go based off of what the world has told you. This is the type of woman that you should go for. And I think with the rise with this red pill community and young men who are focusing on looks maxing, they're going after people online that are the big buff macho bravado guys that like talk down and demean women, and they think like that's what women want because they themselves have not had much experience with women in the real world. I saw one video the other day, and it was this guy talking about how he took this girl on a date, and he paid for dinner, brought her back to his apartment. He was kissing her feet and like just simping heavy, basically what he was saying. And then he was upset and he was asking the guy on the video, like, why didn't she sleep with me? And it's sad to see that this is the mentality of a lot of young boys today, but it just shows a man that really does not know himself. And when you don't know yourself, you just pursue lust. You're lost in lust. You pursue life from your lower nature. And I think, one thing that I learned with you, observing you and working with you for 4 years, was the transition in my mindset of what purpose looks like. And I think that is another heavy key. A lot of men don't know their purpose. You got a lot of men that are very successful, a lot of men that are very profitable, and from the world's view look like they got it together, but aren't moving with purpose. And when you don't move with purpose, you don't move with intention. You don't really look within to question why you're doing and pursuing what you're doing. And then that's how you get where we are today with the red pill community. Now, I'm not going to say that there's not women out there that aren't cheaters and gold diggers. Like, that does exist, right? But I think at the end of the day, men are always going to be the ones that are held responsible, not women. No matter how much wrong they do, we're going to be the ones that are held responsible. And I think men, we're struggling with our fathers' wrongs, and the Bible talks about that. And so I think when we get back to understanding purpose, we can choose better, and we can choose a woman of substance. But what does that look like? And that's my question, for you. Let's say there's a young man that's watching this and saying, you know what, like I've gone down the path of choosing a woman based off of just solely on her looks. But how do I identify a woman of substance, a woman of purpose? What recommendations would you give?
And you know what, Caleb, and as you say that, and you being a young single man, and you got a good 5 years, left in the tank to be like looking and stuff like that before it starts to get a little questionable. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I want to ask you this, and this is yes or no. I don't want you to expound on it yet, but just
All
yes
right.
or no. Can you help a woman change her body through diet? Like, change her build, change her weight through her diet. Can a woman change her weight by changing her diet?
Yes.
And can she change her style by learning more about fashion?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can she change her face by taking better care of her skin and or makeup or cosmetic, treatments.
Absolutely.
Can you change her childhood trauma?
No. No.
Can you change her character?
Nope.
That right there, what we just went through, that is the key that I think that 90% of single men today don't understand, is that the things that you can change, those are the things that are being overlooked. And the things that you can't change, those are the things that's being ignored. So men are like, me and my wife was just looking at the lyrics to this song that went viral online, and it's a reggae song, and it says, "Tell you about that girl named Maxine." And it says she got a pretty face but bad character. And
Ah,
so what's happening is men are choosing women who have a Jezebel spirit,
yeah.
but she got a booty like a Greek goddess,
Yeah.
like a mythical figure. She got a smile that's to die for. She got, skin and hair that's just amazing. But her character, she's selfish, she's self-centered, she's egotistical, she's narcissistic or borderline narcissistic. She posts her selfie to substance Instagram post ratio is like 9-1.
It's low.
And so men are choosing, whereas if I had to do it all over again, and if I was in your shoes, I would choose a woman that I can see natural beauty in, and she's 50 pounds overweight, and her spirit is like a diamond. Like, her spirit is like a diamond in the sun. Like, when I talk to her at the coffee shop, she is just so pleasant and so nice, but she's 50 pounds overweight. But she's just so peaceful. I would choose her, and I would build with her, and we will go hiking every weekend, and we will do meal prep every Sunday, and we will do squats and sit-ups, and we'll do an hour walk. That'll be our date. And we will get healthy together, and I will see her transform, and all that excess weight will come out of her face, and then her face will be chiseled and her beauty will radiate. And I leave that Instagram model, I leave her butt right where she at, posting selfies. And I put it on everything I love. That's what I would do today.
Yeah.
And it's impossible. See, because I can see on your face, you like, no, no, Tony, that sound good. You're here capping for these women. But you ain't nowhere in the world you finna choose this woman if her stomach folded over her belt line at Starbucks.
Hey.
I know that's the thought.
No,
But
I get it though. I get it. All right, but wouldn't somebody say, just playing angel's advocate, wouldn't somebody say like you get in with this woman to change her? Like you out the gate, you trying to change her to be something that she's not? In the same way, like um the phrase trying to turn a hoe into a housewife. Like you trying to mold her into something that she's not already. So is there a difference between like, okay, I see her potential and I'm trying to like help her, shape her, lead her per se, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
the difference is the men who are picking the baddie, they're doing this. They are trying to turn a hoe into a housewife because they're trying to change her character.
Okay.
But when you meet a woman who the only thing that's off with her right now is her health and wellness, now all you're doing is enlightening her mind about how the food she's eating is connected to her mental health, and how what is in processed foods,
Yeah.
and you helping her connect with how she has been basically emotionally eating, because she's single, living her life. Food becomes comfort.
True.
And because she's not doing enough, she's not going hiking, she's not going to the museum, she doesn't have a schedule and a routine. So it's much easier to affect and change the surrounding things, like the ancillary things, than the primary, like the character. And like Zig Ziglar says, money can't buy character, but character will earn you any amount of money. So men with money are trying to go get a beautiful woman and get her to be a woman of character, but his money can't give her character.
Yeah.
But if a man with money actually went and got a woman who has character, his money could buy her a whole new body, a whole new look, a whole new style, because now she going to Pilates 3 days a week. Then she going to the gym another 3 days a week. Now she getting facials. She getting, her hair is done better. Like she got freedom. She could relax. She don't have to emotional eat because she don't have to work 40 hours a week if she doesn't want to. And now she completely transforms. And she okay working with that man in his business because she working for somebody else and snacking on Oreos while she pushing pencils. Whereas now she done met this good, amazing man. Now she his co-partner in his purpose. And she'll rather help build her husband than build this strange man's dream while she's sitting there eating Twinkies all day because her job driving her crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna just be transparent, bro. It would be hard for me to see a woman that's 50 pounds overweight and see all the other stuff, see the substance. It would be extremely hard for me, honestly. I would much rather see a woman that is overweight and I see her on that journey. I catch her at the gym, I catch her at the juice spot getting a smoothie or something. I see you like working and trying because I personally am looking for a reflection of myself, not to the T, but like our habits, somewhat our habits and mindset. More so, I think it's mindset, growth mindset. I see that you are willing to work on yourself because if I come in, I've seen women want to adapt to my lifestyle for me. And then after like they win me over, they revert back to who they really are, you know. So I much rather like you be on that journey somewhat. Don't have to be perfect, but you on that journey from your own point of self-love, not because you want my love and attention, you know? And so I think that's my thoughts on it. But I, I get it. I get it.
See, this is the thing. So then this is what I want you to think about too.
All right.
And that's why I love talking with you, because you can articulate your thoughts. So you and her, the woman that's 50 pounds overweight, y'all in the same position, but
Okay.
but your strength is external. Her strength is internal. So your spirit man actually looks like her body, but her body looks like your spirit man, meaning your struggle as a man's struggle is internal with pornography, staying away from porn, staying away from lust, staying away from masturbation, staying away from fornication. That's where we
Right.
struggle at.
Right.
So because we struggle there, we 50 pounds overweight in our spirit man, and we're on the journey to being lean muscle with our spirit man. Whereas a woman, her struggle is not in pornography and masturbation and lust. So her struggle is external because she is taking her emotional loneliness and she's feeding herself. She's overeating and she's not working out as how she should because that's her weak area. But she actually is working out. She actually is trying to eat right. You'll sit down with a woman who's 50 pounds overweight and she'll eat a kid-sized portion. And you'll be like, this is interesting. Like, I just assumed she would have 3 plates, being that, but her body's built different and her struggles are different. So it shows up differently on the outside. So that woman who's 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, she actually is a reflection of the man who is a perfect bill of health physically, but struggling every single day with almost uncontrollable lust. And she's on the journey with her health, and he's on the journey with his spirit. And together, and that's why those type of relationships, that's why they typically work out better when the man's strength is her weakness and her strength is the man's weakness, because our strength is our differences, not our similarities. So if you notice, when we look at the media, the couples who are the prettiest never last.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ones who look the best together, like they look like spitting images, like they mirror each other. Those are the ones who go through the divorce. But when we look at the ones who we say, I didn't, is Denzel Washington wife, is that all he could get? Or could he get this other shape, this other color, this other
Yeah.
look?
Yeah.
Morris Chestnut wife, is that all he could get? Or could he get this type of look, this type of shape? And so a lot of times when we see the people who, the man or the woman, they're not the exact same, like looks compatible, so to speak. Like they look good together. They could be seen as a cute couple, but you also know that one of them, the man or the woman, could possibly get whatever type of looks combination they could dream of. But it's that strength in the differences that make all the difference. And to a certain degree, that's how me and my wife are. Like her being 5'7", 5'8", she could have won a man that's 6'2" or taller. I'm 5'10". And then me being a football player and a womanizer, I could have wanted a woman with a almost a six pack of abs and a perfect booty. And she had neither. And so it was like we both were out of each other's preferences and then came together, overlooked the preferences, and just looked at the core. And that's what has sustained us to the point that when I gained weight, when she gained weight, we both put on 30, 40 pounds. Neither one of us even noticed that part. But what we did notice is when our spirits went through spiritual warfare. So that's the thing of like, it's hard. It's easy for me to say, and it's unfair for me to say because I'm not single. But that's what I want to challenge
Yeah.
single men to start thinking about and understanding. Like, if you got to deal with her weight, but she got to deal with your battle with lust, then y'all helping each other.
Yeah, yeah. I got two responses to that. First of all, I think as a man being a visual creature, like when I observe a woman, because I take notes. I'm not the guy that every pretty face that I see in the streets or at a coffee shop, I go up to him like, yo, can I get your number? Like I'm more of a sniper approach. I need to collect some data. I need to do some reconnaissance and kind of see how often do I see you at this coffee shop? How do you treat people? I'm paying attention to mannerisms and a lot, right? Before I go up and make my move. But honestly, if I see a woman that's 50 pounds overweight, my first thought as a man that's on a journey of becoming emotionally intelligent and aware of himself, and if I take that as this is a woman that might be emotionally eating, I cannot trust her with my emotions, you know? And so that's the way that I personally perceive it. I do get your perspective, but I honestly I can't, I wouldn't, you know, and that's just being raw and real. And I don't mean any
Right.
disrespect, you know, but this is
Yeah.
just the honest truth. Like I've done the work. And so and I'm continually doing the work. Not saying that I'm arrived by any means either, though. But what it shows to me, our external reflects our spirit. Those are things that we visually pick up on, right? As men being visual, if we're in a low state spiritually, we stop at the face, we stop at the booty, we stop at the hair, we stop at the nails and all of those things, right? But the higher we go spiritually and the closer we get with our relationship with God, we can observe the spirit of that woman, right? More importantly than the looks. Like, looks are important to me, but it's not as important as the state of someone's spirit. What I have personally noticed on my journey of becoming better as a man, when I'm moving with purpose and intention, the type of woman that I attract is totally different. Because me being in my purpose causes me to personally be more disciplined, to spend more time with God, to read more, to educate myself, to go to seminars, to talk to my mentors, to go to the gym, to get out in nature. So when I'm doing these things, I'm rising above higher, right? And so I can have my eyes closed and be in the presence of a certain woman, and our auras are coming closer to each other and attracting one another because it's ultimately a spiritual thing. I think most people date and choose a partner based off of the external things versus the spirit compatibility. And so, like, that's my thoughts on it. I think just from my journey of paying attention when I'm off character, I'm not being my best self, I'm just choosing pleasure in every aspect of my life, chasing money, chasing women, I meet my equal. As a low vibrational man, I am attracting low vibrational women, women that aren't pouring into their spirit, right? You may have some that come along the way and I probably end up hurting them, but in some shape, form, or fashion, like you said, we are all a reflection of each other and our strengths and weaknesses. And I do think it is a point to balance it out. But for me, my thought process now in my single season is I don't want to complete somebody else and I don't want somebody to complete me. I want to come to the table whole, you're whole as well, and then we multiply our power and come together. There's no subtraction. It's only addition and multiplication when we come together because we both have done the work and the foundation is on God. When we're both in our divine masculine and our divine feminine, those strengths will come together and the two will cleave together, and it's like the yin and yang, versus we're coming together and I'm trying to fix this. Like, that's going to naturally happen, but not right out of the gate. Like, I'm looking for somebody who's done the same level of work. And I don't think it's anything that I have to visually like chase or look for. I think it comes to you. And the more spiritually grounded you are as a man or a woman, you can embrace it and see it, because you're going to have the distractions come too. You're going to have them women that just got the body out, got a banging body. But whenever you've seen I've seen myself as a low vibrational man, and I know what myself looks like as a man on purpose and pursuing God. So I can judge and discern more. So I can discern between the women that I choose based off of how I've seen myself and know myself today currently to be. So that's kind of like my take on that.
And this, and from this aspect of men choosing the wrong woman, what I want single men or even men in a relationship but not married yet to think about is how you said, if this woman is emotionally eating, I can't trust her with my emotions. And but the flip side of that is a man's spirit is emotionally eating with lust. So therefore, she can't trust that man with her emotions, with her heart, with
Yeah.
her spirit, because where she may do damage to herself because she doesn't love herself enough to get the knowledge to make that change by herself and alone. The man, she can't go to the man and give him her heart because he's still emotionally eating with his lust.
Yeah.
And so what you have to look at is a woman is not created to be alone, and neither is a man. But when you come together, you strengthen one another. So her faithfulness, her being able to be with one man, because she can only be pregnant by one man at a time, her ability to nurture a man. If you notice, a woman has the ability to love others when she's not loving herself, like your mother.
Right.
Your mother had emotional times where she was emotionally eating, or she was emotionally crying, or she was emotionally beating herself up because of death in the family, because of menopause, because of whatever. But she still loved Caleb, and Tony. And she gave from her lack. She gave from her brokenness. But as men, when we are hurting on the inside, everybody becomes a casualty of our spiritual warfare.
Right.
Even if it's just us being distant and us being quiet and not being verbally abusive and attacking. And so that's why we come together, men and women, like a puzzle piece. So what you have to look at it is, and this is for every man listening to this, our strength is working out, being creatures of habit and eating healthy. Our weakness is what we do behind closed doors in the dark with our third leg. So what men have to ask is, okay, if I'm looking at this woman and I'm making an assessment and discerning her spirit based on how her body looks, her external looks, if I took and used that same model of perception to look at my inner man, knowing that that's where I'm weak at, how long have I been abstinent? What's the longest amount of time I have actually been successful being an abstinent man?
Yep.
So if I can only make it 6 months, 7, 8 months, a year, 2 years being abstinent or monogamous, but this woman is supposed to trust me for the next 50, 60, 70 years, then how can I, as a man, judge her for being in a physical state that can quickly be changed with knowledge and support of a man who is pouring love, protection, peace, and provision into her life? How can I judge her for being in that state when I am constantly in a state of failure with my spirit man? And see, that's what has to happen in this day and age because of the spiritual warfare that we're under. Like, we have to go deeper to understand that. And I said this in a video on my personal page, is that God might not send you a tall glass of water in the desert. He may show you a cactus to let you know that there's water beneath the surface. And that's where we're looking for the big, beautiful body of water in the middle of our desert. And we're overlooking the cactus that lets us know if we do a little digging, we could drink for life. And so that right there, that's what I'm finding as a relationship coach. And then also as a married man looking at the world, I'm like, it's different. It's like the women who are like you physically, like the women who are hitting on all cylinders, they take care of their mind, body, spirit, like they working on themselves. They also don't want to settle because they're like, why would I be with a 5'10" guy when I can have a 6'4" guy? And my child could be the next Travis Kelce or LeBron James. So I want a guy who could protect me. I want a guy who is also masculine internally and spiritually, but he's also physically a force. And so that's what they're saying. I want a 6 foot or taller guy. And then the men who under 6 foot, they're saying, hey, I want a woman who, like, she looks pretty, her body's in a good place, and she's spiritually healthy and whole. But I think where we're going wrong is there's no such thing as 100% whole. At most, we're going to be 70, 80%. And then meaning that we're always going to be struggling with lust as men, and as women, always going to be struggling with emotions of some sort. And so that right there, that has presented a very unique problem. And when you being in it and you look at it, how do you think, or what do you feel like would have to be the solution to it? Or like what type of resources will y'all as singles need to overcome these?
Alignment is the problem, right? Because a woman that's looking at a man based off of his height, a man that's looking at a woman based off of her shape, they're dating on the physical level. They're dating from the body, right? A woman that is looking at a man based off of his social status and his resume and vice versa, they're dating on the mental level. That's it. That's as far as they go. But then when you get to the spirit, everything, you're hitting on all three cylinders: spirit, mind, and body. So people are attracting where they're at. That's why we're having so many issues, right? And I've personally gone through that, where I've chosen a woman just solely based off the shape of her body, because that's where I was. I was in my carnal nature. I was solely in my flesh. But then as I elevate and I got to the mind, like I'm like, oh, okay, I want a girl that is educated and went to this school and went there, resume dating, right? And that's why you have problems. You got many of us that look good on resume, but when our spirits get together, we clash, because we got the body, we got the mind, but we have no spirit. That's where people got to get back being spiritually grounded, right? And also some of it, just when we don't know ourselves, the problems become very nuanced, but it's all very innate, right? So like men will look at a woman, going back to like the weight and shape thing. Some of that's innate because we're doing that from a biological standpoint. Is, can she rear my child? That's just on our lowest level of just survival and evolution, right? And women will go after a taller man because that means that he might be able to protect my children and be able to provide food. Like a lot of it's just very deep, and things that we've just through evolution, our thinking, right? But again, when we let go of all of these things and we get to the spirit, dating is so much better, so much easier. It's people that are fewer and far in between that come across you, which is great, because when you do come across that woman that you're spiritually aligned with, everything else falls in order. But we have it out of order. We focus way too much on the body, working out, getting the BBL, putting on the lashes, putting on the makeup. We focus too much on the mind, trying to get multiple degrees and flexing our social status, and not enough work or pouring goes into our spirit. And I think that is the ultimate problem. Many people are getting married and going into relationships and are not spiritually aligned. And when you're spiritually aligned, and the hierarchy is, for me, my body is submitted unto my mind is submitted unto my spirit, and my spirit is submitted unto God. When you're in that flow, when you're in that hierarchy, that's what you're being powered by. That is what's keeping you in alignment. But whenever you start to give too much focus and attention to your mind, too much focus and attention to your body, you're not in your word, you're not meditating, you're not doing anything to feed your spirit, you're going to get infinite results, or more so finite results, right? Something that doesn't last long. You're jumping from relation to relationship, or you're going to go through multiple marriages because there's no foundation. As the Bible talks about, the man who built his house upon the rock, or the man who built his house upon the sand. I think that is the issue for men and women today, is we are not spiritually aligned. We all saying the right thing, and we all believe that, oh, I'm a perfect fit. We look good on resume, but your spirit will say everything. And I'm talking from a place of a perspective of a man who has been off, a man who has been overrun by lust, a man who did not know himself. Because at the end of the day, I believe our attraction force is the sum total of all of our energies, right? So just like when you haven't eaten all day and then you got to go do some work and you can't really focus or think clearly, the same way, going back to what you're talking about with men being controlled by lust. If a man does not respect and know his body, and the only time that he touches his body from a place of love is whenever he's pursuing ejaculation, whether that's with a woman or by himself, that's a man that does not love himself. So he is operating from an energetic place of lust, right? But when a man begins to respect himself and understand that his semen is a part of his power force, and the longer that he is abstinence, the more his energy will continue to go up and vibrate, and his aura will attract a different type of woman because he is showing himself to be sacred. Right. I think that's a big thing for us as men. So much of what we've been taught has been to over sexualize women and to over sexualize ourselves to where we don't value ourselves. Going back to what I said earlier, we get a reflection of wherever we are at that time. So for women who you're constantly, attracting a very lustful man, look at yourself. I'm not saying that anything is wrong with you, but look within yourself to say, what is it that I'm giving off or I haven't paid attention to or given enough love to, where I keep attracting this type of man into my life, but nothing higher than that. I think it's a reflection of, you might need to keep climbing higher and align yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. We put too much effort into the physical world and focusing on, and I used to be like that. Like, her resume's got to be like this, her hair's got to be like this. But now it's the spirit, and I sense it, I feel it. It's a sense of peace. You can feel God's presence when you go on a date. Like, man, like you start to have visions of like, man, I can see myself with this woman, versus when you're operating from a low frequency, you can see yourself sleeping with this woman. You're thinking about what positions you want to put her body in, versus a woman that you connect with on a spiritual level. You're looking at her mind and saying, man, I love that. I know I have an abstract mind and she has a concrete mind. And when we come together and I give her my blueprint, we can do this together. It's different. You're thinking about meshing and creating a life together versus just practicing in bed, you know? And so I think just the world has become over centralized. We have so many different things off because we've spent way too much time on the body and the mental plane and not enough in the spirit.
Hmm. And so it made me think about something as you were talking about, like, people focusing so much on the physical and not enough on the spiritual. If a woman was to say, Caleb, is it fair for me as a woman to judge a man by his height, by something he has no control over, but then a man judges me by my body, my weight, which I actually can change? So it's like, if a woman said that, like, hey, if you don't want me to judge you because you're under 6 foot and you can't change that, why are you judging me because I'm slightly overweight and I can change that with a concerted effort? How
Hmm.
would you address that? Because that's one of, like, the major questions I get all the time when this picking a partner topic comes up. That's what women say
Yeah.
about, really, we're judging a woman by her body, and really, what does that matter about the body? And you kind of echoing it by saying, in the sense of, we're focusing too much on the body and not enough on the spirit. But then at the same time, it will be confusing if you say, well, a woman who's 50 pounds overweight, which I'm not sure we got an actual body type image of what 50 pounds overweight looks like. My wife has lost 40 pounds in over the last year, and I could see a difference, but it's not crazy drastic difference.
Yeah.
And so I think it looks a little less drastic or dramatic than we may be picturing. But how would you, as a man, speak to that, where, to women who are looking at the double standard of,
Yeah.
like, hey, you don't want me to judge you by your height, but you're judging me by my weight?
Yeah. Um, those are two different things. One's biological, one's spiritual, right? I can look at a woman and say that your spirit is out of line with self-control, versus my height has nothing to do with my spirit, right? Maybe my money, my financial status, I would more so equate it with that, where a woman will maybe judge a man by his social status, him having a degree or not, how much money he makes. Are they on the same level there, right? But I think it's spiritual at the end of the day. It's a spirit of self-control of like, okay, like, can you can you stop eating, or is this a spirit of gluttony, you know? In the same way that men have lust sexually, that maybe yours is with eating, for whatever the reason it is. But at the end of the day, it's still a spiritual problem, you know? The fruits of the spirit, one of them is self-control. And so if I see that you're lacking in that area, that would be my response, you know? But in comparison to the height, I would change it to money. I think a lot of women focus on, man, he's not degreed, he don't make six figures, this or that. There's plenty of I would just say good men or decent men out there that could be married. But I think a lot of women today, going back to focusing on the physical, where a man may say something about their weight, they focus on, he's a blue collar worker, or he didn't go to college, or he only make 40, $50,000 a year. I want a six-figure man. I want this or that. So that would be my response to that. Like everything, I think everything boils back down to the spirit. Um,
Hmm.
it being full, or it being lacking, you know. So
Hmm.
and I'm giving that, I'm saying this with love and compassion. I'm not saying this from a perspective of like demeaning women just because you're overweight. I, just in America alone, we have an obesity issue in general for men and women, all
Yeah,
races, right?
a lot of men overweight too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's something that I think we try and gloss over a little too much, and we're not serious enough about it. Just like I want to be healthy and I want to live long with my wife, I want the same thing for her, you know. And so again, just getting back to the main point, everything I look at is it's a reflection of your spirit, how you move, how you dress, how you talk. And again, I've been on the opposite side of that. I had the worst dating experiences of my life when I made the most money in my life, because I allowed the money to take control of my soul. What does it benefit a man to gain the world yet lose his soul? I was so caught up on the fact that, man, okay, I made 7 figures, that I can get any woman that I want. And so therefore, being a man that was once in purpose and knew his spiritual call, to go into a man that is of the world again, I was conflicted, because I'm thinking physically I should be able to have whatever it is that I want based off of social status and financial gain. But because spiritually I'm not aligned, I'm not fulfilled. I'm only getting bodies, but I'm not getting spirits, you know?
And that's a lot of, that's amazing self reflection, or like introspection. Now, what do you think is harder to tame spiritually? The lust that men struggle with, or the emotional eating that women struggle with? What do you think is the larger demon to slay?
I think they're equal. Um, yeah, I think they're equal. They're equal, but they're also different, right? But as a man, just understanding our makeup, just like a woman knows her body, knows her hormones, a man needs to know his. We're not taught enough about it. Again, I can't say enough how sacred a man's sex organs are, and his semen, how powerful it is. We do not know enough about it. All we know is that to empty the tank. That's all. Where the marketing, the propaganda, everything, and especially in the US, is over sexualized. Like everything is about trying to get to that point, right? And especially with the advance of the internet and dirty movies being just like a regular thing, there are so many men that struggle with that. Again, whenever we can fully see ourselves, we were talking about this before we started the show, when we align our diet with our spirit, when we really recognize that this is God's temple, and we start to clean up our eating, we really start to live a sacred life on every corner, spirit, mind, and body. When we get serious about our purpose here on earth, and we recognize time is limited, but the journey is very long, we start to get serious and disciplined. I'm like, I need to clean up every aspect of my life. I need to question my belief systems, why I do what I do. And then when you recognize your connection to what I put into my mouth, and you can bridle your tongue, you can bridle your mouth. That's why fasting is so important, and it's talked about in the Bible, because you're gaining control over the flesh. The flesh is powerful. You got to discipline it every single day. The Bible says, "Choose ye this day whom you will serve." That's every single day. If I don't wake up and consecrate my body and follow routine and follow habits, I can just easily be on purpose right now and fall back and take a stupid pill and be a whole nother version of myself, right? And so many men, even within the church, how many men go to church every Sunday for years, right? But how many of us are dying from heart disease and heart attacks and strokes and different things, right? Because we have plateaued on our learning and our growing. We stopped at the spiritual level, or what we so thought, but we stopped at religion and not looked at within ourselves to see that we are the body of Christ, that this is the temple, and want to be our best self in mind, body, and spirit. And so when we start to change our diet, and we can say, no, I'm no longer going to keep eating fast food. I'm no longer going to eat after 6 o'clock, because I know that it messes with my sleep and my body doesn't get the amount of rest that it gets. And when I wake up tomorrow, I can't be on and mentally clear within my business. I'm going to stop eating fried foods, because it slows down my digestive tract, and it affects my gut health, and my microbiome is terrible, and that messes with my brain, right? It's a different level of thinking and operating when you start to see yourself as your purpose, right? Your purpose is not outside of you. You are the purpose. When you want to be your best self and you start to go down the path of being your best self, you take, if I can compare it to being an athlete, you have a Kobe mentality. You become obsessed. You become obsessed with wanting to please God in everything that you do. And so when you get that discipline and being able to say, you know what, you're going to tell your body no to food, it's easier to tell your body no to when you get those sexual urges. It's easier to tell your body no when you're around that girl and you get aroused, right? It's levels to it. This is how we discipline and control the body. We have that power, but again, we're just not really taught that. Especially like if we don't get any sort of foundation in religion of sorts, to have a moral code, or something that teaches us about fasting or looking at our body as sacred. we're just lost, and so we just stay stuck on the mental and physical plane. And so I want to encourage men to really take a pause and to to do the 75 hard, whatever challenge you need to do, to unplug and to love your body. Love your body enough and stop being an open meat market and just sleeping with any woman, or just, constantly masturbating and touching yourself. And this is the same thing for women. We don't have to talk about that right now, but the amount of toys that have come up on the market now that are being pushed to women as well, but just primarily with the men, we don't understand our connection with our body and our hormones, and how that affects us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all those different things. But when we can align and we can unplug from all of our bad habits, you can see yourself from a clearer point of view. You can really see the man in the mirror and pay attention to how different things in your life change, how you can think more clearly, the type of women and opportunities that you attract into your life, because you're starting to value yourself. I think that's a big problem on both sides. Even with the influx of the amount of women that are going to get plastic surgeries and getting BBLs, it is a reflection of the type of men that are paying for this for some of these women. Some of them, they're paying for it themselves. But going back to something you said earlier about a woman will go after a certain man, then a man can fund her lifestyle. I think more often than their lifestyle being funded and they're going to Pilates, many of them are going down south, going to Miami or going to Colombia to see Dr. Miami to get some injections because of lack of self-value. But it all leads back to them being a reflection of themselves and them attracting somebody on their same plane, but in the opposite sex form, but they're still on the low frequency level. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but that's my response to that.
And one of the things that I was thinking about while you were saying that is we also have to be mindful of the implications, because while what we eat and those things are very important, to me, the spirit man, the spirit of a lustful spirit that leads to fornication and leads to adultery, that leads to sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted demons, children being born out of wedlock, or children being murdered in the womb.
Yep.
It leads to broken homes and it leads to broken hearts.
Yep.
But eating, it destroys oneself. Whereas lust and sexual immorality can destroy the world.
Yep.
And so it's both of them are an attack. And the adversary comes to you with your weakness.
Yep.
So if the woman destroys, or man or woman destroys their body with how they eat, then they minimize their chances of meeting a mate, which
Right.
minimizes the chances of starting a family that is a healthy, whole family.
Yep.
And they live and die alone because they were not attractive in the relationship market.
Right.
And
Right.
then, but even more detrimental are men and women who do not tame their spirit and they act out sexually immorally, because now they also create disease in the body. They create disease in the home. They create soul ties, and they break the minds, they break the hearts, and the family structure is also broken down. So while we have these spiritual battles, I think that it's important that we attack both areas with the same level of intensity. And because what I found with men is we will attack with a level of intensity what's easy for us.
Yes.
Building muscle, building a body, building a routine. And then we will be sensitive and soft and understanding with our struggle with lust.
Yeah.
Oh, I try to stop lusting, or oh, I try to stop fornicating, but every 7 to 8 weeks or every 7 to 8 months I fall into fornication. But then we will look at someone else's weakness, like the woman's weakness with emotional eating or acting emotional, and we will be unforgiving in that area.
Yeah.
And I've met women that have been abstinent for 12 years. I've met women who have been abstinent for 5 years, 7 years, 6 years. I've never met a man that's been abstinent for more than a year to
Yep.
2 years unless he's a virgin.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I say that to say we have to level the playing field, and we have to look and say, okay, I can't get high on myself and pat myself on the back because I'm strong in my physical body and how I eat, and then get low on somebody else because they're weak with their physical body and how they eat, and then be take it easy on myself because I'm weak with fornication or lust, and
Yep.
then overlook or disregard this person over here's ability to be abstinent until marriage, even
Yep.
if they've already lost their virginity. And if we can take in, I saw this quote that said, turn your weaknesses, your weak points into strong points, turn your weaknesses into strengths. And I think that's where we fail as humans.
Yeah.
I will meet women and they'll be like, well, Tony, yes, I need to lose 20 pounds to 40 pounds, but I have a degree. I have a job making 6 figures. I own my own home. And it's like, okay, congratulations. That's how you're built. That's your strength. But now focus on your weakness, which is your body. And
Yeah.
that's what I call the 3 B's: brains, brand, body. And then I'll meet men and they're like, man, I'm in the gym 3 to 6 days a week. I'm eating healthy. I got this routine. I'm building muscle, but I just fornicate every now and then, once a year, twice a year, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, great. You did great in the gym. You did great making money,
Yep.
but yet you still just as much as failure as the woman that you judging because you haven't found the strength to be abstinent yet. And
Yep.
so that's where I feel like it's creating this friction and this bump in the heads is we're comparing behind the scenes to highlight reels. We're comparing strengths to someone's else weakness, comparing weakness to strength. And that is keeping us, like you said, out of alignment
Yeah.
to where we're not understanding where we should come together and be strong at. But this is what I feel I'm seeing in the spirit is men have to strengthen women, be a woman's support system and rock where she may be weak at, which may be the weaker vessel, it may be her emotions, it may be emotionally eating. And a man being a creature of habit and able to master those things, he brings the stability and the balance in that area. And then the woman going to the man where she may be stronger in the area of monogamy, and the man struggles with his sexual lust and being abstinent or monogamous for long periods of time, she brings that strength and stability because now, as his wife, she can please him sexually all the time. So he doesn't have to go out and be in sin. So the strength strengthens the weakness, and the strength strengthens the weakness. And then we come together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we wait until we're firing on all cylinders, I think that's why we have 40-plus-year-olds still single. Because I'm 40 and I'm just now at 40 years old. I'm just now in sync to where my physical body matches my spirit, and both are in complete health. Like a lady told me yesterday, I've lost too much weight. And I'm like, someone, Tony, I hope you're okay. You lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, I lost junk weight. Like I lost bad weight. Like I'm still not,
But
but
then also, what if you said that to her? What if we said that to a woman?
yeah, I'm like, that hurt my feelings. I blocked her. I blocked her. But I had to go to counseling about it this morning to my wife.
Yeah.
And said, this lady told me yesterday, Tony, I hope you're okay because you lost a lot of weight. But I'm
Yeah.
like, it's taken 40 years
Hmm.
for me to be a man who does not masturbate, who does not fornicate, adulterate, and a man who values and pays attention to how I eat and how I sleep. And so 40 years, the mental and physical to be in sync.
Yeah.
And it's a journey.
It is. I think what it is, bro, with online, with podcasting, with YouTube channels, both men and women are paying attention to the wrong people. And so what they're doing, they're programming their psyche for women, right? They're programming their psyche that a man doesn't want me because I'm this, a man doesn't want me because of that. Instead of unplugging from hearing opposing views and voices, because what you're doing, the more you listen to negative things like this of all women are gold diggers, all men are cheaters. What if the more you listen to this, the more that becomes your reality, because you're constantly consuming that, and you're it shows in your reality of the type of men that you attract. But when you unplug from this and you just solely focus on self and you focus on spirit, instead of judging other people and saying out of your mouth what you think a man is, a lot of people I think are speaking things that don't even exist in their day-to-day life. When is the last time a man shot a shot at you? When's the last girl that you actually went on a date with for you to be talking about how all women are? Like, you have no statistics within your own life. You're just following some podcaster within the red pill community. And so I think just people have really gotten lost in delusion, and we need to stop just judging each other. Judge yourself, right? When you can look at yourself and look at your spirit and study the fruits of the spirit, then when you look out, you judge a fruit, you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. But it's more so a discernment than casting a judgment saying that all men are this, all women are this. No, this woman right here is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. I see something in her that I see within myself because I've been so focused on me and doing the work. And it's not that you ever gonna fire off on all the pistons all the time or get there, but I'm on that journey. You're catching me on the path, like, yo, this is where I'm going. Oh, I see you too. We going in the same way. Let's walk together. Versus you going this way and I'm going that way. Can
Mhm.
two walk together? Let's stay agree. We got to be in agreement that we got a growth mindset and that we want our best selves. So I think, like, from my perspective, that's what I mean about like being your best self and loving yourself. I think a lot of people go into relationships solely seeking love for somebody from somebody else to complete them versus loving themselves already and knowing that they're complete. And I think that's a big problem. If you're spending so much of your time watching about dating and relationship stuff and you're not pouring into yourself to know your relationship with yourself, to know how much you love you, how can you ever love and pour into somebody else? You can only take. So a lot of us are unconsciously going into relationships in parasite form. We're just taking, but we have no nutrients or anything to offer that we've put within ourselves. And I think that's the big problem, is that we're looking too much at the other side of the negative conversations, because again, there are people out there that are having successful marriages. What are they doing right? What's going on? Somebody out there is getting married. Somebody out there is finding that love of their life. What are they doing? Let's study them. Let's stop focusing so much on the negative red pill content, on the whatever version of that is for women, that all men are this or that. The more you put that into your subconscious, you're going to continue to take that in. But when you can unplug and you get into the word and you allow God to feed your spirit, now you see fruit. Now you see the world so different. Now those blinders are lifted off of you. And that guy that you was walking past every day that delivers the mail to you, all of a sudden you see, man, that's my husband. But if you're so focused on, just earthly and carnal knowledge, you're going to judge based off of the knowledge of good and evil versus life.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts.
And and we got a couple more minutes here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be wrapping up. But to confirm what Caleb said, and because Caleb, what you were saying to me, it's what I teach and talk about from a gentleman that told me that a relationship should be like the Olympic rings, to where it's like the whole circles, overlapping each other. And it's that in the middle, that you have in marriage, but you should
Yeah.
be whole. And I do believe that if you're incomplete and you get in a relationship, you will deplete someone before completing them, because it becomes survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And what we have to stop doing as humans is making excuses for ourselves. And we have to make changes for ourselves,
Yes.
because every person that sees us has a right to their perception, and they
Yes.
have a right to their life and to their discernment. So we can't say, hey, see me, see the good in me and not what I'm showing you. See the diamond beneath the dirt and not the dirt that I'm showing you.
Yeah.
And so when we stop making excuses and we start making changes, then we can focus on the 3 B's: brains, brand, body, and you show up as your best self in
Yeah.
mind, body, and spirit. And now you become a 1%er and you attract a 1%er.
Yeah.
Whereas what I was talking about earlier, it really would be the man or the woman making a concession and saying, hey, I'm where I need to be, but this person over here is overweight physically or overweight spiritually, but I'm gonna overlook that and take the gamble of me being able to influence their life and them changing. And it's not really, it's angel's advocate, but it's not really realistic. So because we can't get mad if someone says, well, I don't want to be with you because you're out of shape spiritually, or because you're out of shape physically, and I am in shape physically and spiritually, and I just don't want to take that gamble. Like, that's their right.
Right.
So we got to be our best self.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I commend you, Caleb, with this journey that you on. And I know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. I know where your goals are and where you're trying to get to. And I don't know what that timeline is, and when you will feel in your spirit confirmed in the Lord to be able to say, hey, I'm on it, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like, the lust is under control, the bad eating under control, or whatever it may be is under control. My eyes, my ears, like, I'm on it. I don't know if that's a year, 2 years, but I commend all the singles that's on the journey doing it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly a journey. And again, I don't think I'll ever arrive, right? I just have a blueprint that I look towards every day in Christ. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be going, because I do have those days where I stumble and I fall. And I just want to preface this by saying thank you to all the people that have listened to this, but I don't want to come off as I'm some perfect man, or also come off as like arrogant in my thinking. I'm just confident in who I know Christ has called me to be, and I'm confident in his blueprint, not myself. I'm not confident in Caleb, because Caleb will go backwards and take a stupid bill. But my belief in God, my belief in submission to what's greater than me is what keeps me accountable on track, you know? And so I just want to, to end with that. But none of us are perfect, but we should all be on a journey of trying to perfect ourselves, you know? And everybody's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. That should not be the case. I think to wrap up, I think too many of us want to be wanted by everybody, right? I'm not gonna be every woman's choice. I'm 5'11". Some women may not want me simply because of that. I don't care personally. I'm not looking at that. I've never struggled with like focusing on that. I understand that a lot of men do, and I get that, right? But I'm not focused on carnal things. So I bypass a lot of carnal women and a lot of stuff like that. And I find what's perfect for me in all walks of life, all facets of life. We got to take our eye off of idolization of what the world has given us and dangled before us, and get our eyesight back on God, and you'll miss a lot of the distractions and a lot of the negativity that'll try and come your way.
Mhm. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, make sure that you subscribe if you like what we're doing over here, and you set your notification bell. And we'll be ramping it up here soon. We still, working through and getting our groove going and working out the kinks. But thank you for the support to all our current subscribers. You have blessed us, and we're going to continue to build. So thank you very much, and we will see you soon.
All right, later, guys. Peace.